to Leaders of Tomorrow Masterclass, a series of digital first conversations that we do here on Leaders of Tomorrow, talking about all the issues that matter to you. This is a live interactive session, and we're bringing you a two-part special series here on our daily television show, talking tonight about the impact of what's going on in Russia and Ukraine as far as the domestic e-tail and retail space is concerned, the impact of crude prices as far as raw material prices are concerned, as well as the outlook for the rest of FY22. With our guests, let me introduce them. B.S. Nagesh, founder, Trust for Retailers and Retail Associates of India. Yogesh Kabra, founder, XYXX Apparel. Gurmukh Rubra, CEO, Namdhari's Group. Gentlemen, so good having the three of you here with us on the Leaders of Tomorrow Masterclass, and I'm looking forward to a very engaging session today, and there's so much to discuss. Before we go any further though, maybe we could take 5 seconds, and if I could ask the three of you to really talk about something that's exciting you at the moment in terms of the work that you're doing. Mr. Nagesh, you are, of course, most famously known for your association with Shoppers Stop, but you're doing so much interesting work when it comes to a specific aspect of the retail space, which is training and skill development. Let me kick this off with you and ask you to really talk about your organization.
Thank you, Sunanda, and thank you for inviting me. Yes, post my executive role in Shoppers Stop, when I stepped out in 2011, we started this trust called Train, and this actually works towards empowering people in retail. We do multiple things. 2 of the projects have gone global. The 12th December Retail Employees Day celebration that we started last year, 15 million people celebrated in 5 countries. The award that we do for customer service excellence went global. We had it in 3 continents in the last 10 years. Our most emotional and very, very nice project is the inclusion, where we skill persons with disabilities and get them jobs in retail. In the last 10 years, we have done about 21,000 such youth. We do similar program for women. And of course, we have a developmental program where we have 2 apps, one for the Kirana called Kirana Friends, and one for the retail employees, because most retailers are not able to engage with the retail employees. The engagement stops at their store managers, which is called Train Circle. Exciting because whatever we have done looks big, but we have not been able to move the needle even by 1%. So opportunity is so big that in my lifetime, if I achieve 5%, I think that would be a great thing to do.
Thank you for that introduction. Let me come to you, Yogesh. Very briefly talk to us about your business.
I thank you for having me, Sunanda. Genuinely a masterclass to learn from Nagesh sir. But I run a men's inner and loungewear consumer first, digital first brand. We probably are the only scaled up omni-channel brand that started online but has an equal sort of percentage contribution from offline. We serve over 500,000 consumers every month. That's what we do.
Welcome. Gurmukh, you're in an industry that perhaps is seeing the most disruption as we speak, and we're going to discuss that in depth in the next 1 hour. But just very briefly, what's exciting you? Anything new that's happening at Namdhari's you want to let us in on?
Hi, thanks, Sunanda. I think I appreciate you having me on the show. I think it'd be a great opportunity to learn from everyone else on this platform. Actually, probably the interesting thing is that a lot of people know Namdhari's for its retail presence. Actually, fundamentally, we're actually a grower and we're a seed company, and we work with a lot of farmers at the grassroots level. So the most of the impacts that we've had are actually been in rural India, developing a lot of hybrid seeds products which have impacted a lot of farmers, has made a significant change in farmer income, in the supply chain, as well as production and export. All of that which culminates in our retail experience. So for us, the journey really starts from the seed and ends at the plate. And what we've been doing is we've been trying to take this good food story to the customers, and really competing with a lot of well equipped and deep pocketed players in the market. So it's a challenging period for us, but I think it's also equally exciting. So it'd be great to share some of that experience.
Fantastic. And thank you again to the three of you for joining us here. Let's talk about something that's taking place globally as we speak, and the trickle down effect that we're seeing on multiple industries here in the country. All of this month, all of next month, we're going to continue to talk about the impact that the Russia and Ukraine crisis is having here as far as domestic industries are concerned. We've been speaking about several industries today. I want to talk about retail, and I want to talk about the FMCG and the e-tailing space, the retail and the e-tailing space more than FMCG. And let me kick it off by talking about the disruption we're seeing as far as perhaps supply chain is concerned, and what happens if this crisis doesn't get resolved in, let's say, the next 2, 3, 4 months. What happens then? Maybe I could come to you first, Gurmukh.
I think so. Look, I think we get a lot of news time for a lot of the crisis, and I think one really needs to understand the impact at the grassroots level, and at what level what impact is going to be there. A lot of probably grocery players, a lot of small entrepreneurs probably get impacted really because of the knock-on effect of things like fuel price increases, etc., and that adds to the cost of doing business. And I think that's probably the single largest thing that I think you read from a small entrepreneur's point of view. But when you really look at the macro picture as well, supply chains, you talk about a lot of export-driven companies are going to get impacted. We do a lot of exports of fresh produce to say Europe. We've been finding it difficult to find vessels to ship some of our products. But then the also other part is that a lot of the regional dependency on a lot of products, and we're now getting into the summer. Consumption patterns, for example, Turkey is a huge supplier of produce to say Russia. A lot of Ukraine produces a lot of say wheat, which is consumed in the global market, and it's a significant supplier of that. I think eventually some of these will impact prices at a real macro level. The challenge is not just Ukraine and the Russian war, but it's also the impact of lockdowns in China at the moment, and that's a huge. Also, equally important reason why the supply chain is getting impacted across the globe.
Yogesh, if I can ask you, where is really the biggest concern that we're seeing right now because of what's happening as far as this was concerned?
Look, I've built this company out of the 2 lockdowns, right? And the most important impact that these events have is on the sentiment, is on the lack of clarity and the discussions around what's going to happen. And I think a lot of people worry too much. I think if you have to sort of track back the last 2 years, I mean, India is super resilient. We've overcome a bigger crisis, which had no end to sight, and everyone's sort of done well. So I think we should not worry, and everyone listening, early stage founders, etc., should not worry too much about what's happening. I mean, we will figure this out. On the business side, I think the input costs are a genuine challenge. I think Gurmukh sort of touched briefly upon it. I mean, crude prices are likely to be unstable. If it rises, it will have a trickle down. Apparel uses a lot of, I mean, from packaging to the real product is a byproduct of crude. So I think input price uncertainty, whether we will have the ability to pass it on to the consumer, and what kind of delta will we see when it is passed on to the consumer. That's something that I am extremely worried about.
Sure. We've got a first question coming in from our audience member Sumit Kumar. But before that, Mr. Nagesh, I want to give you the opportunity as well, sir. Not specifically to talk about this crisis, but for an entrepreneur to say, and an interesting thing that Yogesh said, I built his business in the lockdown. So at any point, perhaps you are going to face whether it's global challenges, domestic challenges, fundraising, etc. Can you truly insulate yourself as an entrepreneur from what is happening? And if yes, how should you be strategizing to ensure that no matter what disruptions are happening, your business plans can stay on track?
Sunanda, I think nature tells us that you can't insulate. You have to be inclusive. The moment you insulate, it leads to isolation. I mean, when does a plant, when does an animal, when does anybody actually insulate themselves? To me, an entrepreneur has to be actually very inclusive in his thinking. And every crisis, every situation has created an opportunity. Who thought Yogesh will create something like what he has created in the crisis? I mean, people who have succeeded in the crisis are people who have done nothing because they stayed where they are, they made no mistakes in their life. So everything for them is fantastic. So I would suggest to the entrepreneurs, opportunities are very large in every sector you talk. This is a crisis which has happened outside our country. Humanity is affected, but in our country, the impact as of now is less. I think the most impact is happening because of inflation, because of fuel, crude, and also because of some high dependency on imports from these two countries. So until you are into that segment, I think look at the opportunity within the country. The whole world is looking at India. Please look at India, and that's a big opportunity.
I'm going to slip in a short break on that note. Back in just a moment. Welcome back with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow Masterclass. So let's then get this panel to call out the top trends as they see it for entrepreneurs who are in this space going forward into the rest of 2022, as well as in the mid to short term. The first one that I want to talk about is what's happening as far as digital and online marketing is concerned. And our first question is coming in from our audience member, Sumit Kumar. He says he's chairman of the Global Growth Foundation of India. His question is, how is online marketing impacting small retailers in states like Jharkhand? For instance, maybe not just Jharkhand, but if we could broad basis to talk about tier 3, tier 4 and non-metro cities. What really is going on in this space? Open to all three of you.
So let me pick up the tier 3, tier 4 question. I think what digital has done and what the social media has done is it is exposed the world to all the people, all the consumers of 3 and 4, and their aspirations and ambitions are the same as tier 1 and 2. What digital online e-commerce has done is it has given them accessibility. So they are exploring what they don't get in their cities through online. But let me tell you, if you go and talk to retailers, the number of physical stores the retailers are planning in the coming year is humongous. I mean, we can't even imagine that retailers are still planning. Where America, everything was closing last year, they've also come back and opening stores. So whether you are in tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, I think for the opportunity that you have is, earlier when we used to open the shop, the customer was awake. When we will close the shop, the customer would go off to sleep. Now, when we close the shop, the customer is still awake in the night. So suddenly the opportunity is doubled for you to serve. So I would say, जब आपके customers जगे हुए हैं तो आप मत सोना. अगर आपको सोना है तो at least your digital platform should be awake. And I think that is the biggest opportunity. The other big opportunity is all of us spend millions of dollars to build our technology. Okay, because there was nobody there. Today, the number of startups which have come into digital technology to serve the smaller retailers is very large. And the cost of doing retailing using technology, using digital has come down dramatically because some of them are startups they make even free. I mean, if you look at Dukan, you can go and open your website in 50 minutes or 20 minutes. So that is an opportunity. The last thing is the mindset change. You have adopted yourself from a a regular phone to a smartphone. Your children are using smartphone. But when it comes to your business, you don't want to adopt digital. I think that's the mindset that we need to change ourselves. And
Sure.
this will really help us over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years to be aligned with the consumers.
So, to our other two panelists, if you can pick two top opportunities and two top challenges when it comes to digital selling and online selling that you've perhaps learned from your own experience, or what your peers are telling you that you want to use as advice for our audience today, what would you want to tell them?
We would need, right? It's like, don't spend $1 million and try and create your own technology platform. And we are actually an offline retailer in many ways, and we try to do that, and we lost a lot of money. We made a lot of mistakes, and he's absolutely right. If you're trying to get into this digital bandwagon, think about it, and just use a partner who understands what is done, what is built, and then go into the stream and pick it up yourself and learn along the way. I think one of the mistakes that we did was really try to build everything ourselves, and we didn't really know what we're doing. We're an offline retailer. We know how to sell products. We don't know how to create technology, and we're not a technology company. So I think people thinking that they're going to become a technology company overnight is wrong. And I think that's not where the merit. I think that the second thing is that we all think that e-commerce is going to replace the offline consumption model, right? And I think that's one of the biggest fad that people really think that overnight, yeah, I'm going to start selling across the whole country. That's not really the issue. I think the thing is that you need to look at e-commerce as an incremental consumption pattern to already an existing model of online offline consumption. It's not going to replace that model. And then when I look at sort of a tier 2 or tier 3, I think what you figure, and I was going through this Nielsen report recently, you're finding the consumption of FMCG products in tier 2 cities is about 50 or 60% higher than it is in tier 1 cities. And that's just because competition is less. The availability of those products is better. And then they're more willing to spend on brands that they've heard of, but they've never been able to consume. And
Sure.
that's being made available to them. So I think tier 2, tier 3 cities is where the future consumption pattern is. And I think the opportunity is, how do you localize the consumption trends, right? We're a collage of different cultures in India. I mean, consumption pattern, for example, in the north is very different from it in the south. And then you've got regional languages in play as well. So people who are looking to do localized consumption also need to look at the ability to communicate with these people who are in tier 2 or tier 3 cities. With the mobile penetration rate that is happening in tier 2 cities, it's very different from what it was in 5 years, right?
Sure.
A mobile phone today can have 5 or 6 apps, and I think that's also where the opportunity is.
Sure. Yogesh, even when you're responding to that question, maybe you can take on the second audience question that's coming to us from Deepika Rai. She says, is it do or die when it comes to using digital and technology in the retail space?
You are correlating digital to e-commerce. Digital is not just e-commerce. What is the fact is that your screen time and every consumer's screen time is increasing every year. That is part of the digital ecosystem. I think digital is a wonderful channel because people are spending more time digitally to build a brand, to build a consumer connect, to talk to consumer where they are spending their time. And I mean, I would challenge all the entrepreneurs watching this to not equal digital and e-commerce. Digital is where consumer chooses to spend his or her time. How can a brand sort of integrate itself or the communication into that time and leave the choice of purchase to the consumer? If the consumers, I mean, for example, in the category we operate in, it's a low sort of involvement category. People would interact with the brand or the brand's communication in their leisure time, but make that decision to buy from shop to stop. That's completely okay. So it's not. I mean, the digital influence cannot be avoided. It is a do or die.
So if I can take this next question as a follow-up question to you, Yogesh, a 30-second masterclass, if possible, in terms of what it takes to build a brand in today's digital world. What would you want to tell our entrepreneurs?
So, I mean, it's classic, right? What we've been taught in marketing hasn't changed, just the medium has changed. I mean, if you're building a consumer brand at the core, needs to solve a consumer problem. The problem could be of a different type. Sometimes it's a selection problem. Sometimes it's a product problem. Sometimes it's a distribution problem. You need to solve a consumer problem. Technology can assist you, and it could be a digital way to solve the old world problem. The rules haven't really changed. You need to solve a consumer problem. Till the time you're doing that, it doesn't matter if it's Web3, Web2, digital, offline, you will sort of be the beneficiary of consumer love.
That was part one of our exclusive masterclass as far as the e-tail and the e-retail space is concerned. What's lined up on part two of this two-part special series? Take a look.
If you want to build a brand online or offline anyway, I think the first is get to know your customer well.
I think people should be in control of their data, and we should have strong regulatory frameworks around usage of data.
If you really have a strategy, you understand your customers well, and you're able to offer you are able to meet the needs of the aspiration of that customer, I think you still have a game to play in.